Welcome, everyone. I'm Angela Hood. I'm the founder and the CEO of ThisWay Global. And we today are starting a new journey with our new podcast, the AI Trust Guild. And so I thought no better person to have join me for this first one than Andrew Lampe. He's from my own team. This is very unusual. I don't normally bring people from my own team on, but it was just way too perfect to have you join us. Welcome. And I would love for you to kind of tell everyone a little bit about your background.
Sure. Yeah. No. Thank you, and thanks for having me. So I've been in the HR tech space for a very, very long time, going back to the mid to late '90s. I was one of the very early engineers over at Monster.com, one of the only .coms that I think made it through the bubble. From there, I got introduced to an individual named Bill Warren, who is largely considered one of the kind of like godfathers or grandfathers of HR tech space and job boards and all the rest of it. And so from there, he and I just developed a really great relationship. We were able to build some pretty cool products back in the early 2000s. One of them is the Direct Employers Association. Another one is NACE-Link, which was in partnership with NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And so we built out some really cool, highly visible products. We worked with Indeed very, very early on. We worked with LinkedIn very, very early on. We got them job board content or job posting content. We kind of taught them some of the things that we had learned along the way. And so it was really kind of cool to be a part of some of those early journeys of now some of the biggest names in the HR tech sort of scene. From there, I kind of pivoted out of HR tech because I needed a break. I was in it for about a decade. I went and did some pretty cool stuff with a friend of mine in Arizona. I helped him sort of build out a custom e-commerce platform, managed his entire engineering team. He had an interesting manufacturing process, and I helped sort of take that into more e-commerce space for people instead of having to show up to brick and mortar stores would buy his products online. And so he was able to take that and just turn it into a 9-figure operation almost overnight. It was really cool to watch. And then from there, I just developed a bunch of really great relationships around with people. I've always been able to do that with my life is just, again, find great people to work with, work for, and then kind of manage that through where I'm at. And during that time, I met a really cool guy. His name was Gavin Andreessen, and he was one of the, if you look up him, he was basically Satoshi's right-hand man when Bitcoin first started launching onto the scene. And so I got a chance to sort of meet the person that met the person or the group of people that ends up being Satoshi, whatever it is. And I got into the Bitcoin Foundation very early on. And so sorry, maybe, God, I want to say that was like 2010.
Yeah, really.
So yeah, so like Hal Finney and that whole crew, some really popular people that were very early adopters, sort of early evangelists and vocalizers. We got laughed at a lot, but people were like, "Oh, you're stupid internet money and this and that." But it was cool. Like to sort of, our goal at the foundation was to fund early projects of Bitcoin, using Bitcoin as the product that they would commoditize, and then it also turned into an opportunity to bring sort of stability into the space. It still is kind of like the Wild West, but back then it was really the Wild West, and so we needed to introduce legislation with. We spent a lot of time in Washington D.C. We spent a lot of time with lawyers. We spent a lot of time sort of managing people's expectations about what the cryptocurrency Web3
was it setting up the framework for how crypto was going to work and that, or what were all those discussions about?
Yeah, it was more so people just didn't know a lot about it. Like they didn't understand what the blockchain was. They didn't understand how crypto was solving things that it's seemingly think have been solved by payment networks and other things like that. And they're not wrong, but what it did is it introduced this idea of anonymity. Basically banking without borders. Being your own bank was the very first sort of early phrase where people had their wallets and they had their Bitcoin. And
that was the tagline.
Yeah, be your own bank. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you didn't have to rely. And yet again, this if you remember back, the Satoshi wrote the white paper coming directly out of the banking crisis of 2008. Right. And so in 2009, when Bitcoin launched, he references the banking crisis of 2008 and how all these banks got these gigantic bailouts, how people just lost billions and billions and billions of dollars, but the banks seemingly didn't get hurt in this entire process at all, but a lot of other people did.
Well, I think, with the exception of a couple of them that just were allowed to fail, if you think of it like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, Lehman would argue that no one got hurt.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, and they did some consolidation and they did some other things, but I mean, obviously, Chase was not going to get hurt. Citi
That's
was
right.
not going to get. Yeah, it's the too big to fails were not going
Yep.
to get hurt. But yeah, take your pound of flesh with sending Merrill over to Bank of America or whatever. And so it was again interesting times, but it did come out the other side of okay, we need to get some stability into the economy and letting people understand that this is a tool that they can use. That unfortunately, and still is a problem today. It's just not scalable. Yeah. So unfortunately, Bitcoin itself is just not scalable, right? It maxes out anywhere between 7 to 10 transactions per second. You can imagine over a holiday shopping season, like if you're trying to, buy, you just go out to the stores and shops. I mean, I
Yep.
think Visa swipes 7,000, 10,000 a second.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if people are going to start using, or if the idea was to use Bitcoin as like this global currency, it's going to be the whatever and whatever. It just was not built for that. So
And why is that? Like, what is the limitation there?
yeah, the limitation is really the way that the blockchain operates. In order for a transaction to be verified, validated, and proved, it needs the blockchain kind of works as this distributed ledger.
Yep.
And it needs confirmation from these distributed ledgers, and it also needs validation of the transaction being a legitimate transaction using the private key, which is your wallet ID, to basically validate that you are the person submitting what you're trying to submit through the transaction, and the other end of that transaction is ready to accept. And
Yep.
so all of that, it's a lot of crazy town math, and it's all openly available. If you want to go to GitHub.com and you want to go over to the Bitcoin repo, you can look at from 2009 all the way to the current date. You can sort of see it's all open source there. But that's what really takes a long time. A lot of some of this has been solved, but during this time, a couple of new coins popped up. One being Ethereum, I think is probably the second most popular.
Yeah.
Litecoin, and some others. And then you had like this flood of meme coins that came just rocking the entire operation. So if you remember Dogecoin back in
Oh, yeah.
2013, 14, 15, I think they actually had a NASCAR sponsorship in Talladega. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
weird. And then some other, so the space it got way worse really quickly. And so from there, we can just like the foundation just basically said, okay, this is beyond our control. The what is it? The convicts are now in charge of,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's just it was tough to sort of go through. But I mean, again, a lot of the early stuff that we did, I feel really really great about what we did at the foundation. And again, we were able to help places like Coinbase become
Yep.
operational. We were able to help places like Gemini start to get their feet underneath them. We were able to pivot around that whole Mount Gox debacle, if you remember that, with Mark
Yep.
Appellis and the whole Silk Road thing.
Oh, that
That was
one's a bad one.
that's a terrible one.
That's a
Yeah, I mean,
really bad one. Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to knock off FBI agents or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was totally weird, bizarre,
Yeah.
but that was the perception, and it still kind of is. Still has some of that. It's you know, only con artists use crypto. Only people that want to buy weapons or drugs or
Right.
whatever. And it's just, but I think we are getting out of that. I think the more stability that we get into this, and then as the price has been rising lately, I think Bitcoin's back up to 65K on the
Yep.
exchanges. Um, Hopefully, we've learned the lessons of the past with the meme coins, the rest that just don't pollute and flood the market and bring back that scammy, yucky
Yeah.
thing. And don't get me started on NFTs. That was, it's
I'm
still
not. That's like a whole nether edition podcast.
yeah.
NFTs.
Okay. Well, I can give you some pretty quality feedback about that. And then not to say I think the FTX issue. Everybody was expecting when FTX and
Yeah.
and Sam
Yeah.
collapsed. They were expecting, oh, this has got to be the end of crypto. And it actually is a good thing that FTX collapsed, as well as CZ over at Binance. I mean, CZ is going to go to jail. I mean, obviously Sam's
Yeah.
going to jail. Those guys are going to get sued into oblivion, even if
That's
they're
right.
going to wish. Yeah. I mean, so
Do you think
those
that
two
they didn't
operations.
think they were going to go to jail, though?
Yeah.
That's the part that kind of blows my mind. It's like, what part did you think you could take billions of dollars and that you're not going to go to jail?
Yeah, I think when people get in get caught up in the Ponzi, right? And they get caught up
Yeah.
into all I need to do is just get this
Pay
million
more.
dollars so I can
Yep.
pay this
Yep.
this fee over here, this loan over there. Then, but again, as history has shown, house cards that
That's
is
right.
not sustainable financially. So they were just expecting price to go, and then what happened was obviously the price tanked. And
Right.
so there was a ton of people holding the bag on a lot of that stuff. And same thing with the if you remember the housing crisis, a lot of people
Yeah.
were
Of course.
expecting their property values to go up and up and up and up
That's right.
until oblivion, and then it didn't anymore. And then then we have the banking crisis.
That's right.
But that being said, it was a very similar. But I really liked that those two entities are now kind of out of play. And so entities like Kraken, Crypto.com, Gemini, Coinbase, they they bring, I think, a level of legitimacy because they
Mhm.
try to be transparent. And like the dude that runs Coinbase is a guy named Brian Armstrong, a great guy. I mean, he's a perfect gentleman. I got a brief chance to know him when he was just starting Coinbase, and so he and his entire deal was there needs to be an adult in this room, and I think he has really shown himself. And I think the Winklevis has done a great job over at Gemini. I think the other folks that have sort of lifted up these other exchanges that aren't so scammy, yucky, terrible
Yeah.
like Binance and FTX were. So again, I'm happy that the space is kind of making this pivot into more regulation uh, and more around rules and not trying to bury your company in the Caymans or not trying to bury your company in
Right.
some southeast,
Yep.
that has all these protections around, anonymity or what. It just, yeah. Anyways, and then the guy down in Ecuador, but that's a different story for
Yeah,
another
that's
day.
right.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it was a great time. It was a great time to sort of be at the early edge of it, and I made a lot of great relationships out of
Yeah.
that. And I got back into a little bit of HR tech after my crypto days, and was able to get back into really around job distribution. And then from there, I was able to go over to a handful of other companies and just start helping. I did some agricultural technology stuff. Did some, I think, really great work on that from the sustainability side of the house, working with agronomists, working with farmers and growers, and then getting back into HR tech and with you all at TWG, helping some other companies with other products over in Europe. It's just it's been an incredibly fun sort of 30 some well almost 25 to 30 years now. So but yeah, the crypto right in the middle of my career definitely stands out
Well, the thing I
as
love
a weirdo.
about having you, as chief technology um, officer in this way is that you have all of this experience. You have this experience in bleeding edge technologies and how did they go to market and what were the problems. So, when you were at Monster, that was leading edge, right? That was like when LinkedIn was just getting started, when Indeed was going digital. So that's, one aspect. And then it's blockchain later, which I actually think there's incredible uses for blockchain all throughout technology. And I'm not talking about crypto, right? So there's some of that. But now that you're with an AI company, like, how do you feel about that? Do you see that this is the third time you've been in the leading edge? And what do you think is different about working for an AI company from what you've been doing before?
Yeah, I mean, and I do. It's again, it's just the next iteration. I mean, I think AI has shown us especially over the course of the past 18 to 24 months, that it's staying. It's not a
Yeah.
flash in the pan. I think people were expecting blockchain to. It got so busy and it got so. If you remember, it's sort of like when the internet was just starting to tick over and people were pouring billions of dollars into e-commerce platforms and places like Monster. People are like, oh, this is just a fad. People are going to go back to newspapers. People are going to go back to selling their products on classified sections. People are still going to go to brick and mortar stores, and then with the crypto side, nobody's going to use this garbage. It's just vapor
Right.
money. And then you hear the same sort of rumblings about AI, right? Like, oh, it's just
Yeah.
ChatGPT is a joke. Oh, Gemini's a joke. We saw last week, with Google, having to backtrack on a couple of the images that they
Right.
surfaced.
Yes.
Apparently, they weren't politically correct, or I don't
Right.
know. Yeah. Anyways, and people are like, "Oh, see, it's not
Hmm.
ready. It's stupid. It's ridiculous." And it's just like, guys, we've done this, this is going to be our third or fourth iteration of how the web has evolved and how internet technologies have evolved
That's right.
and connected technologies in. It's like it's exciting. Like I use the major LLMs
Yeah.
pretty regularly, just for not just for kicks and giggles, sometimes to help. And then, but I mean, I've created a bunch of really great artwork using some of
Yeah.
these LLMs. From the TWG side, though, I mean, I love exactly what you're doing because I think you're taking it to another level with really helping. Like you're really helping solve a problem, and where I think a lot of these tools that are out there are just right now are just kind of like entertainment tools.
Yeah.
Can they be helpful? Yes, but I mean, the people that are using them to solve problems, I still think are very early, and I think the way that you all have approached it is really really smart. It's again you're benefiting for a really great cause, and getting that bias and getting back to the basis of skill sets being the predominant factor of
Right.
people being selected for the appropriate jobs. And I think the way that that TWG does it is incredibly smart. I mean, you were an AI company before it became popular. I think
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I really love about what you all are doing. That's a difference even in what people I think would traditionally like right now think of an AI. Think of
Yeah.
a
I have a
chatbot, think
I
of
have a
something.
funny story about this too. So I didn't go to build an AI company. I went to solve problems.
Yeah.
And those problems just led us to, well, the only thing that can do the computation fast enough is going to be large language models, which no one had heard of, uh, multi-pointed algorithms, lots of APIs. We have over 900, and everyone's like, "Why do you have so many?" I'm like, "Because that's what it takes." And then the last component is to actually build an AI specifically to remove bias.
Mm.
And when we like, I remember sitting at Cambridge and going, "This is what we're going to have to do." And it was very intimidating because a lot of people at Cambridge knew what was going on in AI, but not much anywhere else in the world. So you'd go to talk about it or try to even raise capital for that. Wouldn't happen. And then I was very fortunate that in 2018, I met a group of investors that they were looking for AI investment, like specifically. So they were also leading edge. And then in 2019, this is the funny story. So we ended up saying we're going to have a deep vertical in the HR tech space because I found that there was this huge gap. It was near greenfield as far as going into the market. And we win the Innovation of the Year award at one of the big HR tech conferences in 2019. And I'm giving the pitch and I'm saying AI for jobs, and I'm saying, I'm using that terminology. But people would call it OWL for jobs because no one knew AI. Like that didn't even make sense to them. They're like, "Why are you saying AI? She must have misspoken 20 times, and it's actually OWL for jobs." And I came back and I told our investors, I was like, "We have an uphill battle right now because the market does not know. There's no awareness, real. In the tech world there was, but outside of that, just normal business world, there wasn't until OpenAI releases ChatGPT. And I will say, for all of the things you can say about it, it fundamentally changed the perception of AI and what it can do. I think you're right in the fact that people don't really understand it well enough to, in general speaking, they don't understand it well enough to know how they can apply it to problems and solve problems very quickly. I think that's one place that we really excel at. But I would love for you to give me your thoughts about one of our partners, and it's truly our biggest partner. It's IBM, and over 100 years, this company has been around, and they have gone through all the things. Right?
Hmm.
I sit there and think about what that company has seen. When they formed, the role that they played all throughout history. I mean, they have a historical existence. It's not just a company. And so now we're working with them to bring to market Watson X and Watson X Orchestrate. And because of your perspective, What do you think about it? And how much did that have to do with you wanting to join our company?
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't know anything about Watson X before. Well, probably 12 months ago, you started hearing rumblings of IBM's going to do a thing, and it seemed like everybody had was raising their banner up in
Right.
the air. I mean,
Right.
Nvidia CEO gets on stage, says AI like 65 times, their stock pops,
Okay.
400%. I think the IBM folks, they had been working on, I believe, Watson X, I should say, for quite a while, right? Almost two
Years,
years.
more
Okay,
than
yeah,
that. I think it's closer to 4, I think.
yeah, and I think you saw the very early
Yeah.
seller of that. Of that.
Yes.
So I got to sort of see a more mature, still very early, but a more mature Watson X, and I didn't quite understand it at first, to be quite
Yeah.
candid. Like I was like, okay, this is cool. They're basically building a I don't know, another API connector,
That's
something
what
like
it
that. And
yeah,
it's like,
that's what it seems like, right? Until you
yeah,
dig in.
yeah, exactly. And so I think that's what really sets it off. And so not only the other thing about it, places like MuleSoft, Zapier, and others that kind of do this API connection. I mean, that's kind of like API connectors for the masses, for general mom and pop, people that they have a Salesforce and they want to connect it to
Right.
their WordPress or vice
Well,
versa
it's
or something.
also point to point. It's very
It is.
simple, really.
It is. Yeah, it is, and extremely simple, and it's very accessible. Again, user experience
Yeah,
is great, and some of those tools really do a great job of that. But Watson X, I think, is that plus a whole bunch more. But I know it'll immediately get the comparisons of just sort of being, oh, you're just this API connection
that's
flow.
right.
It is, but it isn't. It's much bigger than that. And so when I started to see, especially looking at it through the lens of a HR uh, person,
Yeah.
somebody that's been, if you're looking at it, this is my workflow.
Do you mean a
And it depends,
user? So
a
someone
user or a
yeah, right.
recruiter, or even a chief people officer or
Or a
something like that.
hiring
I mean,
manager?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And so as going through the motions, I think it offers opportunities for all of the levels of an HR sort of operation. But when I started to see how these users could take advantage of what they built behind the scenes inside of Watson X,
yeah,
so you take the time to hire from days and days to hours potentially. You take the ability to source candidates, typically takes weeks, to again minutes to hours. And how they do this is they have some really really great behind the scenes tools that allow you to connect to disparate sources, and it doesn't have to be the sort of modern sources of what you're thinking of right now, but it allows you as a user to just pick up, I want to go look at this thing and I need to go quickly get access to this thing, bring it in, and I need to push it through this process,
right.
and I need to map all the data that comes out of this process, and then I need to move it over here to this other process, and then I need to take all of that combined data and I need to put it in my HR system of record, my ATS, whatever you want to call it. And so those kinds of moments, all that data mapping that goes on behind the scenes, and HR is a very, very fragmented industry.
Yes.
Most HR tech, that is very fragmented industry. Like, I mean, the very fact of the matter is we don't have a general definition of a job. We don't have a general definition of a CV
Yeah.
slash resume. We don't have a general definition of what an interview process looks like, or all the different things that you can imagine that go with
Well,
that.
there's 45,000 HR tech vendors in the United States. I mean, now granted, this covers everything from talent acquisition through recruiting to hiring, to talent management. I mean, it covers a huge, huge swath.
Mhm,
But if you think about it, every company is an employer, every single
mhm.
one of them. It might just be one person, or it could be hundreds of thousands, but I think we all, especially if you've been in HR tech, I think it's really easy to forget just how big the space is. It's unbelievable, and the fragmentation is fragmented on between nearly every one of the 45,000 companies.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with that. Having worked in many companies that their primary job was just to get job posting
Yeah.
data out to the general masses through these job distribution engines. That's a nightmare. And just looking at from a federal government standpoint, like their state job banks, they all have different ideas of what they think a job posting should look like. The federal government can't standardize. Like, oh my God, we're
Even
doomed.
different counties in
Yeah, oh
different
yeah,
states, right? I mean,
it's
it's,
yeah,
and it really does hurt companies. It hurts economies,
mm,
but it really hurts people who are trying to put food on their table, a roof over their families' heads, and we keep them from being able to work just because we can't all get along. I think that's the part that for me when I saw Watson X orchestrate and that every connector works with every other connector. There's not an option about whether or not you're going to be friendly. If you
Hmm.
come into the system, you're going to be friendly with everyone else because that's what the user needs and that's what the job market needs.
Yeah, and I think that really is where the power comes in. And so what Watson X has is they have this thing, this idea called flows, skill flows.
Yep.
And so if you're a top of the funnel hiring individual, hiring manager, and you're looking to attract talent to a job posting that you just made, you're looking to source candidates, you're looking to get real time salary information, you're looking to get interviews scheduled, you're looking to get office space rented so you can conduct interviews. If you're a remote company, you're looking to do, any number of things that some of these top of the funnel opportunities could be. um, that all just seemingly, like the way you can sort of stitch all these things together really easily and sensibly. And again, to your point, having the data being auto mapped and moving through the entire process uh, from skill to skill, from partner to partner, to your point,
Yep.
even if they don't, even if those companies don't even know what the other company is or who the other, they're a part, they're all working together in this kind of ecosystem to help the HR person on this journey. And the direct recipient benefit of this is the folks that hopefully will get hired for said jobs and be able to expand, putting roofs over heads of families, which is super honorable. And it's one of those things that this is just the HR tech vertical I'm thinking of. And with the right set of glasses, you can sort of see how this expands over to other verticals.
Oh,
And
so
you can see
easily.
this, yeah, finance, legal,
Yeah.
educational. I mean, it's insane, all the
Yep.
different opportunities. Even though we're focused 100% on HR, it is interesting how.
But
Uh,
there's been huge traction in customer care,
oh
which I
yeah.
think makes sense, right? It's like it's one of those things where it needs immediate response because people did not reach out to you for help and expect to not get something to happen quickly.
Mm.
I think sales is another way a place because it's a little bit like recruiting a candidate, right? You're recruiting a customer. So
Mhm.
the workflow is similar. Procurement because it has such a great deal of governance around it. And I think that's to me, this is where IBM made, and this is a leadership decision, but the leadership made a decision that they were going to be the most compliant, the most ethical, offer the greatest amount of governance of any of the providers in the world. And it took them longer
Mhm.
because they had to go through a lot of hurdles to do that. And I've made a couple of LinkedIn posts about this, and I call it the tortoise and the hare. Yeah, I think there were some companies that came out and they were very much the hare, like
Mm.
speeding right ahead. And IBM was like, our customers count on us to make sure they don't get sued. So we need to maybe move a little bit slower, but when we get there, we're going to win. And I think that's what I'm seeing happening right now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that sentiment. I think that's incredibly smart, and I think the way, again, that Watson does these things, is, again, it's incredibly valuable and incredibly helpful to all the parties involved in this process. I mean, we see it from, you can be a small to medium sized organization, you can be a gigantic multinational recruiting house and take full advantage of all these different tools, and it's getting better and better. And it's like I think the IBMers right now are shipping 2 releases a month, and it seems like every new release is just
Yeah.
fantastic stuff that comes out with it. And so the monumental improvements that they've made with the product, over the better part of just even, I don't know, past couple of months, have just
Right.
been insane. I mean, the amount of new partners that are coming on board. I mean, the amount of partners that TWG is supporting is
Yeah.
exploded. So it's, again, I'm with you, with your sentiment on that. I think it's a very valuable tool, and if you're on the enterprise side, or even if you're not, I mean, I still think it's something that
Yeah.
any business that does that has hiring needs and hiring services and is using disparate tools all over the place to do the things that they need to get done. This is a great tool to investigate and to explore, and um, great time saver, great efficiencies, I think, can be driven, which
Yeah.
helps
I
you
was
free up. manage
I
your
was
business.
just looking at our customer base that's on Watson X Orchestrate, and we have customers that have 10 employees, and we have some that have a few 100,000 employees, and everything in the middle. And they're all out of different industries. And a lot of technologies say, "Oh, we can play everywhere," but I think very few practically can. But again, I think this has to do with IBM being around for 100 years. They knew that they were going to have to address their existing footprint of customers.
Mhm.
So I don't think they had a choice, honestly, because they have so many customers. All right, so I want to switch to a new topic because
Okay.
this is something that no one really knows about yet. And I'm going to have you and Alex really help the world find out more about Sully's Sandbox. So, Sully Sandbox is, if you're listening to this, it means that we just released it. And it is, you do have to request to have access to it. The reason for that is we're making sure that we scale up our storage and servers in the right way, so no one has any crashes. And so it's just a bit of technical management, but Sully Sandbox came out of a real strong demand in the market for data, for AI, for algorithms, for large language models, and people needed differentiated data. And there's a few really big companies out there that have achieved really incredible valuations. The challenge that came with them, though, is nearly all of the big companies in the U.S., at least, kind of has the same data, same AI, same models. And I know that we were all hearing from our customers, how can I differentiate myself if I'm using the same thing that everyone else is using? So again, you're always at the leading edge. What do you think about it?
Look, I mean, Alex and I have had, and the engineering team have had incredible conversations internally about this, and listening to what you're hearing on the ground from, other customers and other partners that have access to lots of, great
Yeah,
data. They just don't know what to do with it, or they don't know how to manage it, or there's like this idea everybody's seeing that, oh, I just took this LLM and I just threw some stuff inside of it, and then I started getting all these results, and
right,
everybody's like, well, how did you do that? It's like,
right.
I want to do that too, but
Yeah,
there's like this, if you feel like you have to have a computer science degree and
that's
a PhD in mathematics and all these different things to actually understand how, the progression of a primitive language model that starts with the very basics, the bare bones set, right? And then how do you layer more refined data on top of that? And so what Sully Sandbox is going to do is it's going to be extraordinarily helpful in getting the average everyday,
yeah,
sort of generalist, if you want to call them that, to have access to primitives that are great primitive models. I mean, they're coming right out of the gate. Most of these are open source primitive models that the United States government has, manicured and procured through data.gov. If you look at some of the tools that they have over there, but ours will be starting with baselines in those primitive models, and then being able then to put structured data on top of it. And that could be any number of things. That could be Bureau of Labor statistics. That could be I don't know, payroll data, wage data. Historical through paychecks or ADP, or I don't know. You sort of pick and choose some simple ones just right out of the gate. And so what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to go into Sully Sandbox. You'll be able to search for different bits of data that you could help enhance your own opportunities that you're looking to use this data for, and then we'll be able to then provide a fuller picture to the individual with how to make this data make sense. Because I think a lot of people don't have that don't
that's
have
right.
that understanding at the moment, and so
Yep,
so Solely Sandbox is going to be like that. And so I mean, it's again, we're very very excited about this sort of first generational opportunity that we have. We have a bunch of great partners that we're lining up. I think, as you know,
yep,
that is going to be helping us provide data, and I think these partners are like, finally, we have a place to take our
yeah,
data
yeah,
that's
no,
like a nice exchange and a marketplace and
yeah,
everything else. And it's and we'll be responsible, for vetting and making sure that we're not getting garbage in, garbage out kind of stuff, and things like that. And so we really want it to be a high quality showcase marketplace of data that anybody can access, and then anybody can, in a very simple interface, just sort of run queries against, and or start to see if they can see trends in some things, and being a little bit more available at the fingertips of some of these people that may have no idea even where to begin.
That's right.
And so I think that's where we really want to take Sully Sandbox to be that next level of data exchanges, but meaningful, very opportunistic inside the HR tech space initially. I know
Yeah.
the idea is to take it way, way, way further than that, but
Right.
focusing in on that is great. And then yeah, we're really excited about this and some of the stuff that we have internally, just from user experience standpoint. It's just
Right.
fantastic. So we'll be excited. Hopefully, like you said, it'll be launched by the time anybody listens to this.
That's right.
I'm sure that yeah. So and I'm sure we'll accompany it with screenshots and videos and all the different kinds of things that we're good at doing. So very excited about it. So
Yeah,
it's very cool.
the other side of this too is, when I was at Cambridge, I was very fortunate that I got to work with incredibly intelligent people, and all of them were just such experts in their field. It could be stars, it could be curing a particular type of cancer, gene therapy. I mean, it just was everywhere. And the thing that I kept coming back to over and over again was that those people have all of this data, they have all this information, they had models, they had algorithms, they had done an incredible amount of work, and most of them either pushed it into their dissertation, they defended their dissertation, and then that was it. Now we're done. Like, now I'm going to go do whatever I'm going to go do. And we actually end up losing all of that information because it's locked into a document that
Mhm.
just got kind of stuffed in the technical drawer, got just stuff there and no one's doing anything with it. And then the people that are experts and they don't know how to monetize, their expertise in the world is building these things. It's not, how do I then get it to market and make sure that the world can use it to solve very meaningful problems. And I just think it creates an opportunity that of what a marketplace is supposed to be, which is literally helping people find something that they're looking for or that they didn't even know that was available, and they get to discover it.
Yeah, that's a great call out. I mean, again, I think a lot of these, yeah, researchers, just individuals,
Yeah.
have just access to huge data models that they have manicure curated either for
Right.
their own uh, hobby efforts or just like
Yeah.
through research on whatever. And now they have an opportunity to share this at scale.
That's right.
And I think that's really cool. So I mean, yeah, it's again, I think solely solving that two pronged problem of
Yeah.
consumer and owner, and it's very very cool. I think and the market I think will really highly respond to this product. It's
Yeah.
again one of those, like you said, it's one of those cutting edge products. It balances that AI moment out, where we're providing high quality data. I think
Yes.
a lot of times the open AIs and the Googles and the rest, they have pretty yucky data
Yeah.
that they're language modeling against, and not they're just scraping the web, right? I mean, it's not
Right.
their fault. There's just a lot of garbage out there, and so, but yeah, this is a far more refined, specific, you know, hopefully a much higher fidelity quality
Right.
of data will come out of this. So again, benefiting everybody. So
Yeah. It's
very
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you joining and giving everyone your thoughts on these things, because I find it super interesting talking to my own team, number one, because all of you have so much expertise in the field and you've done so many things that the entire world talks about. I mean, you've all touched it. And for you to now be on our team and making sure that this gets taken to market in a way that will truly benefit the world, will not cause harm, and will actually cause people and businesses and economies to grow and succeed. I just think it's fun, right? It's fun to come to work every day and go, okay, we're actually doing something that matters. We're not just here ticking away the hours.
100%. You were nailed it on the head. It is fun and it's challenging, and I think one of the colleagues that we have, I get to actually use my brain cells.
Yeah,
I love that. So it's like,
yes,
yes, you do. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's really hard, and
yeah,
but at the same time, it's yeah, the reward of it, and watching something that took a lot of brain cells to figure out,
yeah,
start to you know get used and helping. Like you can really see the other people that are using this product are like, oh my God, this is insane. This is great. And it's just like, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, no, it's very cool. And I'm deeply thankful to have an opportunity to ride with you guys. Um, yeah, I think these new products that we have coming out, I think are going to be incredible. And
Well, it's
looking
like
forward to
you've
seeing
always
how
been here. Everyone's like, wait, he's been here forever, right? I'm like, I wish, but he's somewhat new. I mean, you're not super new, but I would say it's awesome to have you. Love that we're on this journey together as a team, and I'm excited. What's really going on? Okay, so Andrew, um, do you use LinkedIn? If people wanted to reach out and ask you a question, where would you want them to reach out to you at?
Yeah, I mean, you can use. I have a LinkedIn profile, so it's just Andrew Lampe is the moniker. So just my first name, last name. So I was a very thankfully when we were helping LinkedIn start their journey. I was one of the I think first 10,000 users of LinkedIn. So I got to get my own little moniker on there. So it's just Andrew Lampe on LinkedIn. So if there's an opportunity for me to be helpful to anybody, happy to reach out to me there, connect with me there, message me there.
And for
It was
clarity, it's Lampe.
it
So,
is it
so
is
if
it's
you
the
forget your
German.
name, you'll find other people.
Exactly, yeah, no, and it's the German, yeah, saying of Lampe. But no, it's yeah. So anybody out there that wants to talk more about this stuff, I'm happy to. I do kind of still cruise around the crypto folks, the old schoolers,
Yeah,
not the new
that's
schoolers.
right.
But so anybody wants to talk about that or anything else, I'm happy. I'm available. And thank you for the opportunity, Angela. I appreciate this.
Absolutely. Well, I love having you on the first edition of the AI Trust Guild podcast. There's no better person to start it with. So I love that, and I appreciate it. We'll have you back on. I have no doubt people are going to start sending us questions,
Cool.
and we'll have to do an interactive one next. Thanks
Love
for
it. That would
joining
be
us.
great.